It's the Kongversation!
Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Chad McCanna.
Smile, baby! It's
Yeah.
our Mr. Pants Spotlight episode.
And the music you're enjoying is obviously the eponymous theme to Mr. Pants, a.k.a. Smile Baby. I think that's what Ben Kuzmina called it. Our good buddy Aussie Ben Kuzmina ripped the entire It's Mr. Pants soundtrack, so you'll be regaled with some of those hits throughout the episode. Actually, no, this one is called Pants Away!
Oh, see, you're spreading false information already.
Well, I immediately rectified it.
Yeah, this is actually the cleanest rip you'll ever hear of the Mr. Pants music, because I don't know, like me, I'm Aussie Ben really cracked into the game, and I don't know, you can't find it really anywhere else, can you?
Okay, well let's take a step back. Let's assume that our listeners are 99.99999% of the population and have never heard of It's Mr. Pants.
Well, then, here's what I want them to do. I want them to unsubscribe to our show, never listen to us again, because I don't want them.
You don't deserve this. It's Mr. Pants is a Game Boy Advance game from the mid-aughts.
It came out late 2004. Well,
Yeah.
When I say came out, it kind of appeared like a Sasquatch in the woods.
It trickled out. It smelled very grassy as well.
But I think we need to go even further back, Chad, because
Okay.
you're kind of to understand.
Am I muddling the mode of this episode?
You are. It's you're like Max the Mystical Mouse. You are. You are just, and of course, this episode is probably going to take as long as Muddle Mode takes to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll get into that.
All right. These are all teases for amazing conversation later in the show.
It's going to be a fantastic episode. Well, the reason we wanted to talk about It's Mr. Pants, first of all, is it recently, a few months ago, celebrated its 10th anniversary.
That's amazing.
That's absurd,
and it's kind of impossible to tell exactly when its birthday is. You know, much like one of George R.R. Martin's Bastards. Like, they never quite know what their birthday is. I'm really getting into Game of Thrones right now.
I've just gotten into Lord of the Rings, and I realize I'm very late in the game for that, but I just got into it recently. So
via the films, or are you actually reading any of the material?
Michelle, my girlfriend, is big into the films, so I got into the films. Now I'm kind of dipping my toes into actually reading the books.
Hyle, I was your girlfriend long before Michelle, and you never got into Lord of the Rings because I was into it.
No, because you got me into 99.9% of everything else I ever got into. So
fair enough.
I had to draw the line somewhere, and that somewhere was Middle Earth.
Okay. That somewhere was the Grey Havens, the Undying Lands.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. We've kind of pegged It's Mr. Pants. No, we haven't pegged It's Mr. Pants. What I mean by that is we've kind of ascertained that it came out in late 2004, somewhere around December. Actually, it probably had the same release date as Mario Party 6. Ish, because we have it a day after Mario Party 6, so I'm not sure how that came about. I think nobody could find it on December 6th when it was supposed to be out.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until December 7th that it started showing up in stores.
To this day, I have never seen a copy of It's Mr. Pants in the wild in a retail store. I got mine on eBay.
So did I.
And it was delayed for some reason for forever. And these were the days before Nintendo region locked its handhelds. This was a Game Boy Advance title. And since mine was taking so long to arrive, Aussie Ben was able to readily find it in Australian retailers, and he mailed me one, and it arrived from Australia before my eBay copy did.
Really?
You had to go so far out of your way and have incredibly generous Australian friends to get a copy of this.
This was 2004, so Amazon wasn't the behemoth it is today, where you could just get anything your heart desired on Amazon. You would actually have to... Amazon was more known for books than anything else, so you would have to go to eBay.
Yeah, eBay had just gotten out from under its Pez dispenser reputation.
Right, so eBay was just this fantastic place where, I mean, I find more stuff on Amazon now than I do eBay. I don't think I've used eBay in quite some time, but
actually, just yesterday, there was an item that I had to go to eBay for that I couldn't get on Amazon, and it was because of fucking Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah, it was a dock for the new 3DS, and they only... since it came out in PAL territories in Japan months before it ever came out in North America, they've got all the accessories readily available, but you can't buy them on the American Amazon site. So I wanted a charging cradle, like a dock, for the new 3DS, and they've, of course, changed the placement of the port, so you can't use a normal 3DS charging dock.
Of course. Because why reuse past accessories when they'd be forced to buy new ones?
Right. It's strange. Nintendo, like they specifically don't pack in an AC adapter with their handhelds now to try and avoid filling landfills.
Just like Los Angeles apartments.
Right. You get to whatever strange DC current thing happens to be the outlet, that's what you're going to work with. Hey, you got wasn't the problem in LA mostly that they don't have the ground?
I was making a joke. I was making a joke about AC air conditioning, but because why put air conditioning in your small apartment in the desert? No.
Yeah, much like Phoenix, Los Angeles is it's basically a slight upon God, who created a desert and did not want humanity to live there.
Oh, no, sorry. Air conditioning is a perk for celebrities in the hills. No, you peasants have to just roast.
I fucking hate the constant reminder that the Hollywood Hills provide that there is a caste system above all of you that live in the valley and live throughout Hollywood on the south side of the mountains. It's so infuriating to just always be looking up at your betters.
To be fair, though, they are one earthquake, mudslide, or forest fire away from losing their homes. So
yeah, that's true.
You kind of laugh at them.
Right. Yeah. You look at those ones as you're driving down the PCH. You're like, okay, I'll give you about 5 years. But no, I had to purchase a Japanese new 3DS charging cradle via eBay. Because Japan uses, a similar alternating current. I couldn't get one from Australia or Europe because I don't know if that would introduce a problem, but I know that I believe they use direct current or something different than what we do. But that's hence the difference between NTSC and PAL. I think. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I went with the safe option and used the Japanese one. But Amazon didn't prove useful. I had to go to eBay. So it was sort of a throwback to the It's Mr. Pants era as we all know it.
Right, and because we are both American boys. We live in the United States.
We're an American boy.
Bald eagles baked in apple pies. So what we couldn't find it anywhere, and apparently Canada got it before the U.S. Actually, I don't know if the U.S. ever got it. Yeah, I don't know if the U.S. ever got it. It did kind of trickle into some stores around the border, so around the upper Great Lakes, like Niagara, things like that.
Yeah. People would smuggle It's Mr. Pants cartridges in sacks of marijuana, because the marijuana was the least illegal thing to be importing into the country.
Right. Well, America needed a pick-me-up after the re-election of George W. Bush. So
we all really needed to smile, baby.
Anyway, so it was a tricky game to get, but why did we want to get the game in the first place? Well, we've got to rewind, Chad.
Oh, okay.
We've got to talk about the history of It's Mr. Pants and the history of Donkey Kong coconut crackers.
So the origins of life are normally believed to be amino acids that have interacted with an electrical field.
And then on the seventh day, God rested.
God created Mr. Pants.
That's the first thing he did.
Yeah.
That was his ideal man.
Yeah, to him, that's resting. That's how God gets his jollies off. And by God, we mean Lee Loveday.
Right. So before we talk about Mr. Pants himself, Let's talk about Donkey Kong Coconut Crackers, because that's actually what this game started its life as.
Mm-hmm. And what E3 was that? Was that 2001?
It was
the big one?
The greatest E3 of our young lives, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, E3 2001, it was just a fantastic day. We got a deluge of Donkey Kong Universe games, and that's never been matched to this day. And what makes it all the more disappointing is half these games either changed from the forms and announced at this game, or they were never released at all. So
yeah, we were right on the precipice. It was like the impending Microsoft buyout coincided with Rare's most fertile anticipatory period.
Yeah.
And so like everything, like
this was still a year before the buyout, but obviously things never made it out except for one game. So
right. Well, and at that time, I'm assuming that probably shortly after E3, maybe on the heels of their showing, these conversations probably started to happen. So game IPs and designs started to be rethought behind the scenes, and then
I imagine there was just a lot of nervous shuffling at Rare. Like,
yeah,
for like a couple months, all they did was play foosball while they waited to find out. Happen.
We do know that for a long time, Activision was in talks to purchase Rare.
Oh, good lord! Thank God that didn't happen.
Well, I mean, honestly, they would have been able to develop for Nintendo. They would have probably retained,
and then they would have gone tits up when Activision went under. Did Activision go under?
I have no idea, but I haven't heard from Activision in a while.
I know, it just seems like a company that doesn't exist anymore.
We used to be pen pals, but they sort of fell off. No, but I feel like had Rare been there and had been granted the freedom of a third party developer, then perhaps they could have staved off Activision's impending, downturn.
Oh, so you're saying Rare could have saved Activision?
Yeah, that's what I said with like 8 unnecessary big words.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll never know. Like, I don't like to really play the historical what ifs anymore. This isn't, an alternate like history novel where Hitler won the war or JFK was never assassinated.
Yeah. Activision, this might have been your life.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I don't think Rare would have been able to keep developing Donkey Kong games. I mean, besides like the ports that they still developed. But I don't know. It's weird. We'll have to ask Chris Sutherland about that next week.
Oh yeah, Chris Sutherland's going to be on the show next week, by the way. So if you missed last week's episode but are hearing this one, tune into the next one.
Yeah, Chris Sutherland, the head programmer on DKC, DKC2, Banjo-Kazooie, and more.
Yeah, also the guy who said, "Oh, the Xbox." Blah, 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 blah.
He was also one of the rappers in the DK rap.
No way, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you read our Facebook page, I had something about that yesterday.
Oh no, I don't go there.
All right. Well, anyway.
Never been a better time to join.
So, okay, we had this like wave of Donkey Kong universe games. We had, of course, Donkey Kong Racing is the one we still mourn to this day. We had Diddy Kong Pilot, which morphed into Banjo Pilot post buyout. We had Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge, which more or less came intact, except these were all published by THQ.
Right, that was the real strange part. But
yeah,
go ahead.
And then there's also Star Fox Adventures, which is we knew about Dinosaur Planet. E3 2001 is where Star Fox Adventures had its coming out party. And
yeah,
I remember
that was also an E3 that the aforementioned Ozzy Ben Kazmina was able to go to, and he to this day can lord over our heads that he has played Dinosaur Planet.
No, because this was already Star Fox Adventures at this point.
Oh, was it? Oh, because the GameCube was announced.
It was
then.
E3 2000.
2000's the one that Ben went to and got to play DP on the N64. I should rephrase that.
I know. So yeah, Star Fox Adventure. You were really relieved too that Star Fox Adventure still had Tricky in it, because you went through this dark week after it was confirmed that Star Fox Adventures was a thing, but before we knew that Tricky was still in it.
Well, yeah, it was I remember that week because the title was announced, and I was really upset because I had. By that point, I had a year to fall in love with Rare's vision for Dinosaur Planet.
Yeah, you had gone all in on Dinosaur Planet. I mean, I was excited for it too, but I was like, you were like obsessed.
We've talked about it before. Like it dovetails perfectly with like my love of mystical sci-fi stuff, a la the Dark Crystal. Hey. It also is my childhood affection for dinosaurs, and it's like all of that being made by Rare on what had then become like their most prolific and probably at that point my favorite console. So it's like everything, the stars were aligning. The Majestic 8 were all in a row, and then the Majestic 8 was never uttered again.
Right.
But then as E3 got closer and closer, I remember we started seeing screenshots, and once I saw what Rare was doing with it, I was like, oh, okay, yes, please. Because they also coincided, didn't they, with the GameCube's announcement? So, or actually, not its announcement, but it's the revelation of its like graphics, of actual software.
Yeah. Well, E3 2001 was the GameCube E3. I actually looked
Right.
it up the other night in preparation for this episode. I was just like, E3 2001, that's known as the big Rare E3, right? And of course, I barely found anything on Rare showings. It was all like Luigi's Mansion, and I was just like...
The Metroid teaser.
Yeah, you had to really dig to find like the stuff that we remember from that E3.
Right.
It just shows how much of in a bubble we are sometimes.
So let's talk more about It's Mr. Pants for the next 90 minutes.
This is setting the stage, because to really
I was just hanging a lampshade on the bubble that we live in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true. So anyway, we're ambassadors of our insanity. That's what we are.
Yeah, not really the fan community as we attested last week. It's just our craziness.
We try to make our craziness a thing that can be appreciated. And so far, I think 4 or 5 people have joined us joined in on our crazy train. So anyway, we've got those games, and then we've got another game for the Game Boy Advance. This was really, I think, I've been using this term a little bit, but this has been the coming out party of the portable team, the handheld team at Rare, at E3 2001, because they had Diddy Kong Pilot, Granny's Revenge, and then they also had Donkey Kong Coconut Crackers, which was a puzzle game. And
with the Donkey Kong IP, and
well, this is how awesome Rare was, and why, as Donkey Kong fans, we're going to be perpetually bitter from here on out, because Rare treated Donkey Kong like Nintendo treats Mario. Donkey Kong was their Mario, where they would always apply the IP to new games, new genres, new titles. It was, it was like they weren't afraid to do new things with it, and now it's just going to be perpetually platform games, and if Kevin Callahan is to be believed, maybe a Diddy Kong Racing revival.
Well, it's like Rare had gotten control of the franchise, and in their minds, it was sort of a series that was on equal footing with Mario and Pokemon. Basically, they all shared the number one Nintendo licensed title. Maybe, Zelda would be up there as well. But I think, and we shared that view, but I don't think Nintendo ever did. And with Rare off the helm, it seems like, the series it's not assumed that it can support these flights of fancy.
No, but that shows how confident Rare was at this point.
Exactly.
They could just go, it was like, okay, 2 Diddy Kong racing games, Donkey Kong Coconut Crackers, sure, let's go for it. Let's do it.
People will buy it because they'll be good. And they were confident that they would be good.
And I think, at least Coconut Crackers, as its eventual fate showed, it would have been good. It became something great, something sublime, but...
Although, there was a little weirdness with... So DKC Coconut Crackers was...
It wasn't DKC Coconut Crackers, it was just
Donkey Kong Coconut Crackers.
But by this point, the country moniker was kind of retired.
Yeah, thanks to 64.
Well, yeah, because Rare was kind of done with Donkey Kong Country, and something I want to ask Sutherland is if there were any talks about what Donkey Kong on the GameCube was going to look like.
Sutherland, get over here! I got a question about Donkey Kong.
Sutherland, you're a damn good cop.
Yeah, the boss. Give me more pictures of Spider-Man, Sutherland.
One thing I want to ask him is, if there were any plans for Donkey Kong on the GameCube, like what direction was it still going to be 3D? Were they going to go back to 2D? But at this point, Country was basically a relic. It wasn't like the brand it is today. It was, well, we're going to move Donkey Kong in different directions, but because we're Rare, it's still going to be the same series. It's not going to be like a tangent like Jungle Beat, you know?
Exactly.
So,
but like it was this weird block-based puzzler, but unlike a lot of the Tetris and a lot of the Tetris clones that you would see come out, like Yoshi's Cookie, Dr. Mario, it wasn't gravity-based. It wasn't this top-down sort of. You're looking at, or it was top-down. It wasn't this side view.
It was isometric.
Yeah. It was not like the diorama style. Pieces falling thanks to gravity. This one, I mean, it like you said, it was isometric and ultimately became directly top down. But I don't think it was in that isometric view. I think gravity might have played a role in determining how long you had to place your pieces. But that was abandoned once it was converted to It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah,
right?
although reading up on Coconut Crackers, apparently there was going to be an option where you could switch to a pure top-down view, so the isometric wasn't going to be mandatory.
Yeah, because it did look kind of weird and pixely when they did the transformation on the Game Boy Advance.
Well, this is something, we talked about how ambitious the handheld team got at times.
Yeah.
They would try these new concepts and really try to push things to the limit. And obviously with things like Banjo Pilot's voxel version, it just kind of fell apart under its own weight. The isometric view, they claim they really couldn't get it to work too great because it was just too hard to judge, especially the ones at a distance where you're actually dropping things. So.
Yeah, but basically you're trying to create squares and rectangles on a board to get them to disappear. Meanwhile, around the perimeter, the play area that you have is shrinking because there's
well, in one mode it would be shrinking.
Okay, well, in the mode that I'm most familiar with, and mind you, Hyle is the expert at It's Mr. Pants between the two of us. I haven't played it probably in 10 years or so, but I still have a fondness for it. It's the kind of game you don't forget. But
how could you? No.
Yeah, what ultimately was meant to be the pant snake and became the crayon snake in the Donkey Kong version was a critter that was basically stomping around the edge of the screen and deleting, or, destroying, eating, kremling, barrel cursing, whatever you want to say, the play area. And then I think at a certain point, Rambi would come out and destroy the critter temporarily.
Yeah, basically this would be marathon mode where you have a limited amount of time, I think 5 minutes you had to solve the puzzle or the critter would get to the center of it and you would lose.
Yeah.
So you had that, and the environments, each puzzle would be a different environment from the Donkey Kong series or just from the general world. Mm-hmm. With the screenshots we saw, there was the Congo jungle. There was Gorilla Glacier, and what I loved about the Gorilla Glacier one was it had the igloos that you walk through, the level entrances.
Yeah.
Then there was also a Zinger Hive, and then an ocean seabed with a shipwreck, which I think was just kind of an original thing, and then an active volcano, which was also, at the time, I guess, an original thing, since I don't think it was supposed to be something like Crocodile Cauldron. It was just its own thing, but because it's a tropical island, hey, volcano, sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Retro did it after all.
Yeah, but it did look very Donkey Kong-y. I mean, I'm sure the environments were just there for aesthetic, much as It's Mr. Pants backgrounds were, but it looked nice. I was excited for it. I mean, the menu screen itself had a 3D Donkey Kong on it, and
he was juggling what looked like tetrominoes.
Yeah, and this was also at a time when Rare was kind of changing Donkey Kong's design a bit, and it never.
This was the Donkey Kong racing model.
The Donkey Kong racing model, which is something that never really came about because none of these games were released. But yeah, Donkey Kong looked a little different here.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, when they transitioned from DK64 over to the Game Boy Advance GameCube era, they remodeled DK, and they also started posing him standing much more upright than he really had in the past. They also
I can't really describe it. He's a much more rounder face.
Yeah, and so his mouth now has teeth embedded in the upper and lower surfaces. It's not like the toothy grin that sticks out that you get nowadays, and especially back in the buyout era when Rare wasn't in control.
The white chiclets.
Right. No, these are basically textured on teeth on the upper and lower, inner flaps of his mouth. Which it looked a little strange, but we only got to see this, polygonal version. We didn't get to actually see a full-on render of it, in this style.
Yeah. And one thing that's worth noting is on the menu screen, they have different icons to represent each mode. One of the icons is a stopwatch from Donkey Kong Land 3.
Yeah, now that's a deep pull on Rare's part. The game
Rare
from
was
1997 that no one played.
Rare was good at deep pulls like that. I mean, they were masters at maintaining like internal continuity like that and bringing back obscure elements, as like Diddy Kong Pilot's leaked ROM showed, where you had like zingers and buzzes used as items. So, Chad, were you excited about coconut crackers? Because I remember even then, like when all these games were announced and we were so excited, there was kind of some gentle ribbing, I think, from you about coconut crackers.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Yeah. So I think that everything is relative. And in E3 2001, this was obviously the least exciting that Rare had to show, but in a vacuum, I would have been extraordinarily excited for this. I mean, I was spoiled, basically. We all were back in those days.
We didn't realize how good we had it.
Yeah. This just seemed like E3 2001 was the logical progression of our fandom. We didn't understand that in retrospect, this would be like a complete statistical outlier.
Yeah, this would be us flying too close to the sun.
Exactly, yeah. Our wings burned off and Rare plummeted into the clutches of Microsoft. This was I may have been harsh. I haven't looked back at those old writings, and to hear you say it, I'm a little surprised that I was,
because I remember I was the one on the staff who was most like, yeah, coconut crackers, yeah. And everybody else was like, yeah, whatever. Let's talk about Donkey Kong Racing.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem, is that we had Star Fox Adventures and we had Donkey Kong Racing to talk about.
I remember you were also very harsh about King of Swing at first. And it took a little while for you to realize.
Was I? I remember.
No. Yeah, you.
I remember looking at King of Swing and thinking that it would be a cool gameplay mechanic, the same way that I saw Kururin and immediately knew that it would be fun.
You came around with King of Swing, but your immediate gut reaction was, "This is shit." And
that might have been a product of the buyout era. I don't know.
Yeah, but so anyway, yeah.
But I don't think I ever said coconut crackers is shit, because
no, you didn't.
Of course you're confident in Rare to do a fantastic job, and ultimately with It's Mr. Pants they did. It was probably one of those things where it was the least amazing thing that we were covering in that E3.
Honestly, in retrospect, Diddy Kong Pilot would have been the least amazing thing, but we were excited at the time because, hey, Redneck Kong. And
also,
K. Rool dressed as a pilot. And
Diddy is being given another headliner in tandem with Donkey Kong being given a headlining racing game.
Well, what was amazing about Diddy Kong Pilot, which we'll eventually talk about, we've talked about Diddy Kong Pilot on the Vine Donkey Kong audio program, but not too much in length here. But the amazing thing about Diddy Kong Pilot was that it was Diddy Kong's game, but Donkey Kong was in it.
He was playable in it.
Yeah, so it was like really showing that you could make either one the lead and not necessarily have to bump somebody from the game, you know?
Yeah. Well, so were you excited about coconut crackers at the time?
Oh, yeah. I've never been a big puzzle game fan. Obviously, I think I had Tetris. I had Tetris for the NES, and I probably had it for the Game Boy.
How could you not? I think it was mandatory.
I think it was mandatory for anybody in the late 80s, early 90s to own Tetris in some form or another, but especially for the Game Boy. I played Tetris, but I never really got into it. For me, puzzle games were always kind of just very dry, and as somebody who always likes to have a story and a universe built up around it, just having falling blocks doesn't really do it for me.
There was another game made by Alexei Tajnihov, or however you pronounce his name, the creator
Vladimir
of Tetris.
Putin.
Yes, another game that Vladimir Putin made in between Wrestling Tigers.
And killing his political opponent.
And killing Boris, his... I know that I saw a news article. It's like a CNN push alert where they give you like just enough information to click, but never enough to inform you. Thanks, American news.
Well, we wouldn't want to pick a side, right?
Right. No, we want to tease people in so they can look at ads in between reading actual information. No, but they said that the killers of Vladimir Putin's opponent were caught, but I didn't. The push notification didn't tell me whether or not they were connected to Putin's regime, so who knows? Who knows? Anyone who reads the AP or Reuters feeds, because those are the only ways to get distilled, unfiltered news in America these days. What were we talking about? There was a game by the creator of Tetris, Vladimir Putin, called Wild Snakes and it was billed as such on the Game Boy box, and I bought it because I liked reptiles and catching snakes in my backyard, and I like Tetris.
You like catching snakes in your backyard? Yeah,
man. We live backed up to like a retention pond. And a little creek. You've been to my house in Texas, you know.
I was never in your backyard.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, just behind that fence, there's like this big creek and retention pond, and we used to get snakes coming up out of there all the time in the backyard. Yeah, I was really into like fucking creepy crawlies and bugs and reptiles, amphibians, all that stuff. And but anyway, so I really like snakes, and I was like a 10-year-old, I wanted to play this game. And it actually had a story about like some city being beset upon by hordes and hordes of snakes, and your job was to stop the wild snakes from being so wild. But it attempted to have a story in a puzzle game.
Okay, well,
yeah, it's rare though.
Obviously, I was playing the wrong puzzle games.
Clearly, get Wild Snakes, which will never be on the 3DS eShop ever.
No, I was excited about Coconut Crackers because I trusted Rare. Like, Rare had never let me down. And it was a puzzle game with a property that was my favorite of all time. It had a Zinger Hive, and we were really excited about the Zinger Hive puzzle because it was just like, oh my god, they're acknowledging Donkey Kong Country 2, because this was post Donkey Kong 64. We were like, are they going to like reference anything but the original game and 64 again?
Gloomy Galleon.
Yeah.
That was a love letter to the second game.
But this whole like wave of things coming out from E3 2001 showed that they were appreciating every game, every era of Donkey Kong. So.
I think that we were, by that point, we had seen how Zelda and Mario had all been sort of reduced to the very easy visual shorthand for those series, and we didn't want the same to happen to Donkey Kong, which if judging by Super Smash Brothers for Wii U and Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS's soundtrack, there's a certain contingent in Nintendo that still thinks Donkey Kong is only synonymous with the jungle theme. If you listen, Hyle, you can hear the drudgery coming.
At least they put in Bramble Blast or whatever they.
Oh yeah, that like hyperactive techno remix.
Yeah, that just kind of completely kills the spirit of the original that everybody loves about it. Yeah.
Although they do have the jungle theme as sung by Donkey and Diddy in there as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the one I do like. Anyway, so I was excited for the game, and probably excited more for the other ones, but this was just like the cherry on top of a perfect E3.
Yeah.
So anyway, we never got that game. What happened was Nintendo was bought by Microsoft, and they
really, I hadn't heard about this.
Yeah, well, it happened. Yeah, it happened.
Wait, did you say Nintendo was bought by Microsoft?
Oh, did I? That was a Freudian slip, because for me, the heart of Nintendo was Rare. So yeah. So no, Rare was bought by Microsoft, and they lost the ability to use the Donkey Kong IP. Now, granted, they would return to the Donkey Kong IP like a year later when they started doing the ports of Donkey Kong Country, but that was a weird situation, and it's kind of still mind-boggling to think about that they were actively making Donkey Kong games up till like 2007 or so. Yeah, with Diddy Kong Racing DS.
It doesn't seem that long ago.
No, but it's like you think of the buyout era. they were still like developing Donkey Kong's world like 5 years into the buyout era.
Mm-hmm.
It's anyway.
I was living in Los Angeles by then.
Yeah.
Weird.
Wow. Anyway,
that's why my Donkey Kong Country 3 Game Boy Advance cartridge was lost when I had my DS stolen in a mugging.
Anyway,
worst place in the world.
Yeah, but at least you got to go back to your unair conditioned apartment and sweat 20 pounds off.
That's true.
Yeah, so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when Rare was bought by Microsoft, they had to retool all of the games they had in development. So Donkey Kong Racing for the GameCube became Saberman Stampede, which and then Diddy Kong Pilot got the Banjo property, became Banjo Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Then what else? Grunny's Revenge came through unscathed because they retained Banjo.
Yeah,
then,
I think Grunny's Revenge was only a victim of its own internal hubris. In that, from what we've heard, they had to dramatically scale back the scope of that game because it was a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, and then so they had to do something with Coconut Crackers, and they could have just made it a Banjo puzzle game. It probably would have been the easy way out.
Yeah, it would have been probably pretty easy to make it honeycomb based instead of square based. That's a very popular shape in tabletop games. They connect together. It would probably be not too difficult to do.
Banjo-Kazooie honeycomb humpers. I can see it right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they decided, Banjo, he's getting 2 Game Boy Advance games. Let's diversify a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And let's give this property over to a property we haven't given a game before. Let's start a new franchise.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I wish we could talk to someone who knew the internal story of in this case, this is like our version of how a bill became a law. I want a Schoolhouse Rocks to explain how Coconut Crackers became its Mr. Pants.
It's the most bizarre thing because they had to know this game wouldn't have sold. Right?
Do you think it was like a last ditch? Like we need to recoup. Like this title has been under development for 3 years. We need to recoup something. What can we do to it?
I don't know. It's just okay. So let's talk about Mr. Pants briefly. A brief history of Pants.
We can't talk about Mr. Pants without talking about his creator, Lee Loveday.
That's right, Lee Loveday. He who was the head of Rare Where.
Yeah.
That's the original name of the Rare website,
mm-hmm.
and which was just a magical place. Those first few years, it was up and running, and. Yeah, Mr. Pants was a mascot character he created, and I say that in air quotes because it probably took him all of 5 minutes to conceive and scribble the character down.
Yeah, Mr. Pants was an MS Paint drawing that I think was... I've never traced back the first appearance of Mr. Pants, but I'm willing to bet it was a throwaway joke, replying to someone in Scribes.
Yeah, and then he eventually took over the survey part of the site, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Mr. Pants was the survey man, and he had a distinct way of speaking. Although we had never heard his voice, it was just what was typed out for him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of groovies, a lot of calling people baby. It seemed like he was like this weird fat pasty swinger guy dressed only in his underpants that was stuck in the 70s
in a bowler hat and with like a pencil mustache.
I always thought his mustache was kind of bushy.
I don't know. Well, it's kind of hard to tell because he's a pale white stick figure man.
Yeah. It's like he's a stick figure that's actually given some girth.
Well, yeah. When we say he's a stick figure, we mean his arms and legs. He
also bears his nipples and belly button proudly.
Which is kind of the most shocking thing about it when you really look at the character design. Like, how is this an E-rated puzzle game for the Game Boy Advance? Like, how did this ever get this far?
I think there's if you get weird enough, you can absolve yourself of all claims of pedophilia, and I think that's like. Basically, Mr. Pants is using the Michael Jackson defense.
I never thought about it. That this is basically a mostly nude middle-aged man kind of worming his way into children's homes, like
hanging out with Toby and Helpo. It's like it's very. It is the exact same reason that there are still a very vocal set of Michael Jackson fans that believe the whole, hey, he's just an innocent man-child. He never wanted to have a childhood. He never had a childhood, so he wants to experience it vicariously, and it's all innocent, and that's basically why no one goes after Mr. Pants for the same reasons. It's so weird that you can kind of see maybe that's just how he likes to live.
Well, we'll talk about Mr. Pants in universe here because the thing about Mr. Pants is everybody loves Mr. Pants.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like the most beloved figure in the Donkey Kong universe. Like
he's the only rare character that is pure unbridled joy and enthusiasm for everything. He has an unquenchable zest for life.
Yes, that's it. And then people respond to that. Like when I say people, I mean characters within the Donkey Kong universe obviously respond to it because he is the celebrity that they all love.
Clearly Boggy does.
Yeah. He's just sitting there watching him.
And whoever designed Dodgem Dome. Yeah.
So, Mr. Pants was a character on the Rareware website and became a joke and became a fixture, and people responded to him that would write into scribes. Eventually, Lee Loveday expanded his world a bit by introducing Mrs. Pie. Mrs. Pie and... I don't know. It was like, I don't know.
Well, there were Mr. and Mrs. Pie.
Mr. Pie was never shown, though.
Right. And the basically the assumption, and I think it might have been actually spelled out, is that Mrs. Pie was cheating on Mr. Pie with Mr. Pants. And
and I think this was all clarified around the time of It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah,
but...
and Mrs. Pie, was she introduced in Chris Alcock's game Mr. Pants 2000? Because that was really the first Mr. Pants game, just not an official one. Well,
I think I remember her being in scribes, and she was it was a shitty drawing that Lee did, and it was, would you like some pie?
Yeah, it was a stick woman wearing a bra and panties, holding a pie with a couple of wavy, steam lines above it.
Yeah.
It said, would you like some pie?
No innuendo there whatsoever.
Right, well, honestly, I don't think there was meant to be.
What?
It was like the innocent of all innuendo banana bird.
Mrs. Pie, I mean, would you like some pie? And she's in her knickers.
But that is the magic of the Mr. Pants world, is that it's...
Well, no, I'm not saying in universe there's innuendo. I'm just saying in Lee Loveday's mind, it was pure innuendo.
I don't know. Perhaps. Maybe. I don't know. I think at that point, what would become the Mr. Pants world might have started to take hold, where it's just like, let's just name these people after nouns, and this is who they are now. I don't know. I could see it go either way.
Well, anyway, so Mr. Pants eventually started making Easter egg appearances in video games, but not as an official character. Like we talked about in our Jet Force Gemini episode a few weeks back, how you can make all of the bugs in the game reskinned as Mr. Pants.
All of the soldier drones.
Yes.
Not the sniper drones, which kind of was disappointing because it was only the blue ones that would turn into Mr. Pants.
So that was kind of the first reference to Mr. Pants in a game.
Also, there was Mr. Pants graffiti on a castle in Tofferet.
Oh, yes. So then in 2000, Banjo-Tooie came about, and this kind of marked his official introduction as a real character because, yes, there was also, like, Mr. Pants... there's an Easter egg in the Dodgem Dome where the constellations, the stars... formed a constellation of Mr. Pants in the created Starfield in this theme park attraction.
Yeah.
But then you also had on Boggy's TV, he was watching a television show where Mr. Pants was dancing.
Right.
He was animated. He was dancing.
It was a live television show.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he was the whole show is just Mr. Pants dancing.
Uh-huh.
And I imagine he was going ba ba da ba ba, and
Boggy had to keep his TV muted for copyright reasons.
Yeah, but he was just watching watching it like transfixed. Eventually, he was going once the show ended, he was going to watch some porn, and he invited Banjo to stick around and watch some porn with him.
As you do.
Which is honestly a thing that happened in Banjo-Tooie. We are not reading too much into it.
Yes.
He
Boggy?
specifically says, I have the Bear Babes DVD. Would you like to sit and watch it with me? I assume to have a joint masturbating session. Banjo politely declined.
Well, okay. Boggy says everything up until the joint masturbating session.
Okay, but and meanwhile, his family's in the other room.
Yeah, right in the basement.
Yeah, so no, I'm just gonna put in the Bear Babes DVD. If they walk in on me, whatever. This marriage is a sham.
They already know I'm a terrible father.
I mean, good Lord, they really went all in on Boggy being just a piece of shit.
Yeah,
didn't they?
It's a sack of crap.
Yeah, so that was kind of the first introduction of Mr. Pants as a character, and then it kind of snowballed from there. Grabbed by the Ghoulies had so many Mr. Pants references, and he would like be endorsing products. Like there would be like Mr. Pants and then crackers, Mr. Pants things. There'd be pictures of Mr. Pants up on the wall. So at this point, you're getting the idea that this guy is a bona fide celebrity in the Donkey Kong universe, and that through his television show where he just dances in his underwear, he's become kind of this icon on the Rare Archipelago, where it's like this guy is just beloved, but you didn't really get a sense of what else he was about. Like, is he just this guy dancing in his underwear on TV, or is there more to Mr. Pants than we have previously seen?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that if nothing else, Bryan Cranston was able to model his career after the upward trajectory of Mr. Pants.
That's true. That's true.
He went with the white Y fronts. He really should have considered red.
He really should, yeah.
It really would have brought the Breaking Bad pilot all together.
Breaking Bad would have become the cultural phenomenon it did much sooner had he gone with the red underpants. And Vince Gilligan is ordinarily very on the ball with like what colors to use, the symbolism. Right. He really missed out on that opportunity.
Well, he would have had to change his name to Walter Red.
That's true.
That's where Walter White came from, right? It was the color of his skivvies.
Obviously, right?
It had nothing to do with the light dark dichotomy that he's starting out with and eventually transforming himself into, right? It was his underwear.
Or he's a honky trying to make it in the world of Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that too. So that's where Mr. Pants was as of 2003. Roll over to 2004, and I forget when we first heard that Coconut Crackers was becoming It's Mr. Pants, but I think it had been rumored. Like there had been, maybe Lee was like hinting at.
Oh,
something.
No! I remember what it was. Back in those days, it was very easy to look up the web registrations and the copyright registrations that were being taken out. And I remember at that point, we were also starting to see something about a gnome. We were seeing My Garden, which ultimately became Viva Pinata.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And then we started seeing It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah.
And then I think at that point we were sort of looking at all the projects that we knew Rare had at one time had in the pipeline, and we were sort of figuring out, what could each of these things mean. And the only one that made any sense for It's Mr. Pants was Coconut Crackers, and we were correct.
Yeah. And I remember I don't know who was first arguing for It's Mr. Pants being part of the Donkey Kong universe, but I think at some point it was just this wave of realization where, oh my God, Mr. Pants, the character, was dancing on a TV in Banjo-Tooie, and that was his first appearance.
Yeah.
And we got some pushback for that, but I think generally everybody's on board with it at this point.
Yeah, how can you not love Mr. Pants?
How could you not want Mr. Pants part of the Donkey Kong universe? You're an awful, inhuman monster if that's the case.
So here's a question about the origins of Mr. Pants. I mean, we briefly mentioned how he has a very distinct, like, 70s-oriented style of speaking. I wonder how much of this Lee Loveday is drawing from from his own experience. And, how much of himself does he put into the character?
So you're saying Mr. Pants might be autobiographical?
in a sense. I mean, because I know that Lee is a huge fan of like Spectrum games and things from the early 80s, late 70s, that kind of very early era of video gaming. And I'm wondering if those might be kind of his formative years, and this could be a throwback to that. I don't know. It's entirely speculation. And
he would play Spectrum games in nothing but red underwear.
right. Looking at his gallery of priceless artwork. So let's speaking of the gallery of priceless art, let's get into It's Mr. Pants.
Yes,
because that was not just a throwaway line.
Right. So eventually, Mr. Pants came to be. It's Mr. Pants came to be, and so the core puzzle game was actually conceived by Tim Stamper and Greg Mayles, and so like I think that was like right when it. Before it became Coconut Crackers, because before it became Coconut Crackers, before it had the Donkey Kong IP, it went through a couple of different permeations before they kind of settled on what it was going to be, and then resettled on what it was going to be. But the actual puzzle gameplay was conceived by Tim Stamper and Greg Mayles. So when they applied Loveday's Mr. Pants character and the art style to the game, it was implemented and redrawn by Ryan Stevenson. Like, Loveday didn't actually do any of the art for the game.
Right. Lee did the original MS Paint drawings and like the gif of him doing the Egyptian head dance. This is one of the best ones.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of fan recreations like Alistair Craig's Rubber Chicken doing the left right huzzah. Which I think became the Happy Dance, but Mr. Pants was always participating in that. And Mr. Pants had a huge fandom. Well, at least in our circles.
Well, yeah, I mean, what Mr. Pants was he was a calling card. Like, if you mentioned Mr. Pants and somebody got what you're talking about, you knew you were good with that person.
Yeah. We've made the comparison before, but that was like the handkerchief in the front left pocket.
Right. The red underwear on your crotch.
Right, exactly. If you start to strip a man down and you see those red Y fronts, like, you know that he's a fan of Lee Loveday. And that means everything in that community.
Ryan Stevenson was the chief architect of the art style of the game.
And it looked different. What I was getting at is that it looked definitely different than
he polished it up
the
a
MS
bit.
Paint style. Yeah, I mean,
he made it more presentable, but they still purposely made it look like shit. And
right.
When one of my favorite anecdotes about it was that all right-handed artists drew the characters and environments with their left hand,
just so they would look terrible. It looks like scribbles.
Yeah, and when you look at some of the backgrounds in this game, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
After this art style was released, we were having a bit of fun with what I think was it Gun-Toting RetroNet? I'm talking about Pants Dance. Was it RareNet that we were
Rare Extreme?
It was Rare Extreme, of course.
Yeah, RareNet, we had long put aside our beef with RareNet because RareNet was basically a non-entity at this point.
Right.
RareNet, by the way, was the premier Rare fan site when we were starting out, and we kind of we were very we had a rivalry with anyone who was above us at that point.
Well, they were massive GoldenEye and Perfect Dark fans, which is
them,
fine, but they viewed all of the the weird animal mascot games that we loved as sort of lesser entries.
To them, they were the should have been Metroid crowd of 1999.
Right.
Where they were more interested. They didn't care about like Banjo or Donkey Kong 64. They talked about it because they felt like they had to, but it was all Perfect Dark with them. Perfect Dark. That's really what we want to talk about. Perfect Dark.
Right. And anyway, but it wasn't them. It was Rare Extreme.
Rare Extreme, which was the site, the Rare fan site that came after RareNet. That they were they were enthusiastic.
It was the Rare fan site that Rare themselves started to turn against.
Everything we strive to be like Rare Extreme was. Oh God, I don't even know how to describe.
Anyway, they were a rag. They were as much of a. a clickbait, rumor-driven, non-substantive tabloid rag as you could get.
With the writing skills that any 8-year-old could bring to the table.
Yeah. I mean, at least the Sun can string together a coherent sentence. But anyway, so as a prank, getting our jollies, Alistair and I forget who else was involved in this. We basically concocted a fake Mr. Pants game called Pants Dance, DANTS. That would be a Mr. Pants Dance Revolution clone, and
which was actually a really good idea.
I would have bought it. And I don't think they ever took the bait, but we had some fun with it. But anyway, that was all based on this new art style.
Yeah. And so I love the art style for It's Mr. Pants because I generally think they actually improved upon Lee's original designs because it's like kind of shiny but still stick figures and still looking generally terrible. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. This is the definitive Mr. Pants for me.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's like it's in two worlds. Like I think of Rare Where Mr. Pants. And this Pants is, they're the same character, obviously, but I think there's still something charming about Lee's original MS Paint drawings.
Of course. I'm not besmirching that. I'm just saying that.
He put a lot of effort into those, Hyle.
I know. When I think of Mr. Pants, the legitimate Donkey Kong Universe character, this is the guy I think of.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right. So let's talk about the world that this game built for Mr. Pants.
Well, let me start. I have the instruction booklet. For It's Mr. Pants in front of me. Do you still have this? Do you
No, basically what I do is whenever I stay in a hotel room, I always leave a copy of the Mr. Pants instruction manual in the drawer. Mm-hmm. I'm like Gidgeon, I'm just going from motel room to motel room, leading the gospel of Mr. Pants.
Oh, that's why they referenced It's Mr. Pants in Rocky Raccoon. So anyway, I'm gonna read the Welcome to Pantsland page from the It's Mr. Pants instruction booklet. This entire instruction booklet, I think they were almost all, maybe with a few exceptions, written by Lee Loveday.
These were the sunset years of instruction booklets, by the way.
Yes, and Lee Loveday was pretty much the go-to guy for writing the Rare instruction booklets, even from the SNES years onward.
Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't really start until he didn't do Donkey Kong Country, which we all assumed he did at one point. The Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, did we confirm that?
I'm pretty sure he didn't do it. I'm pretty sure he didn't start till later. Maybe I'm wrong there.
He's credited with a story in Donkey Kong Country 2, which
Donkey Kong Country 2, but the original Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah,
I don't think he did.
At any rate, whether it was 94 or 95, he started around the mid-90s and kept it on. But this one, since Mr. Pants was his creation, this instruction booklet is all written from the perspective of Mr. Pants. So this is the most intimately, aside from throwaway lines on Scribes and in the survey page on Rareware, this is the most intimately we've ever got to look inside Mr. Pants's mind. So
you're gonna do it in the voice, I'm assuming.
Oh God! Well, before I do, the voice is basically it has to be the same guy who does Shabunga from Star Fox Adventures.
Oh yeah. But we've joked about that, how they are essentially the same voice.
Yeah, and in It's Mr. Pants, one of the things that probably couldn't have helped its sales, but is one of my favorite things, is that almost every action in the game results in some kind of sound sample, and a good probably 60-70% of those are Mr. Pants saying stuff to you. So even when you're scrolling through the menu, every time you move to a new option, it starts playing a new Mr. Pants voice sample, regardless of whether the previous one has finished playing. So, right. So they all start overlapping, and it's just this cacophony of medium, easy, my head hurt. Anyway, so that's a little taste of what you're about to get. I'm going to do my best Mr. Pants.
Okay.
Welcome to Pantsland! Hello, and welcome to my world of pants. You may know me. The name's Mr. Pants, and I'm here to show you the brutally funky sights of Pantsland. In what little spare time I have between exclusive underwear design contracts, I've been putting together some challenges just for you, my gibbering fans. So you'll probably want me to spill the beans on those in due course.
Don't go expecting them to be easy, but at least you'll be able to ask my friend Helpo. I know you have to wonder about the parents these days, to lend a hand with some of his zippy tips. So turn the page and let's go. Pants on!
So that's how the instruction booklet begins.
Which, remember what I said? I didn't like puzzle games because they provided no story.
Right.
This is like, there's so many riches to be found here.
Yeah. So the one leap we made was that when Mr. Pants says he's been putting together these puzzles, we're basically saying that It's Mr. Pants is a TV game show, and that's probably what Boggy was watching.
No.
No?
Boggy was watching Mr. Pants' first TV show where
I'm sorry.
He just dances for 30 minutes to an hour.
I figured that was the opening credits to It's Mr. Pants.
Oh, no, that's the complete show right there, Chad.
Oh.
And that was probably the Mr. Pants show.
I was thinking it would be like 29 and a half minutes of Mr. Pants dancing and 30 seconds of puzzles.
No, how would you fit in muddle mode? No, It's Mr. Pants is the game show, and the leap we made that what you're playing is the premiere episodes of It's Mr. Pants. Mm-hmm. So, Pantsland is where It's Mr. Pants takes place.
Yeah.
And Pantsland is basically blue skies and lush green rolling hills. You know, it's very picturesque, and it's also well, it looks like children's doodles, but
right.
We here at DK Vine, we spent a long time looking at the map. We spent a long time looking at globes, getting cartographers, on board, and we've all determined that Mr. Pants' home of Pantsland is located near or around Cornwall in the United Kingdom.
I like how you say we've all determined. What you really mean is you've made this insane proclamation and we're all complicit.
In the spirit of Mr. Pants, I feel like that's the only way to do it.
That's fine. When it comes to Mr. Pants, I am totally fine lying back, closing my eyes, and taking it.
Oh, lovely. So, yeah, basically, I think we settled on Cornwall because it would be slightly to the north of Ghoulhaven Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're making a map of the rare island chain / rare archipelago, you kind of want to keep things grouped as closely together. So when you're getting into the United Kingdom, Ghoulhaven Hall, we actually did determine has to be on the southern coast. So, because it actually juts up to the ocean.
I'm sure at some point we'll have a geography of the Donkey Kong universe episode of this show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so Pantsland, it's in a slightly sunnier locale. Cornwall it is. And
I think forum user Leanne lives in Pantsland, if not very close to it.
Yeah, and I think Matt has been wanting to do a feature for some time where he goes to Cornwall in search of Pantsland. And he interviews locals, asking directions to get to Pantsland, asking if they've met Mr. Pants.
Yeah.
So
we can even frame that as one of those old In Search Of TV shows. You remember those from the 90s?
Well, didn't Leonard Nimoy host In Search Of?
Was he the host of that one?
The original one, I think.
Yeah. Because that must have been what they were parodying on the X-Files episode of The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah. I mean, we make so many Star Trek references. I didn't know if we were going to.
You make so many Star Trek references.
Hey, sometimes you ask me. you indulge.
Okay, all right.
But I figured, we should probably bring up that Leonard Nimoy passed away, and that was a celebrity death that hit me probably harder than any other that I've heard. Despite the fact I've never even been in the same room as the guy, but I mean, he meant so much to my upbringing and being. It's weird because Fry said the same thing and about the Star Trek crew made him feel like he had friends when he didn't. And
Chad, that's sad.
And Leela said that is touchingly pathetic.
Yeah.
And but it's that's sort of how I felt about the original series back in junior high, and so Leonard Nimoy passing really hit me hard.
Well, I mean, I know it is sad because I Leonard Nimoy seemed like a genuinely good guy, and he but I can't get too sad because I know he'll come back in the sequel. So
that's true. I think that there was a great I don't know if it was The Onion, but it was some spoof newspaper that said aged William Shatner commandeering USS Enterprise from California coast to go in search of Leonard Nimoy's corpse. And it like had these Photoshop pictures of 70-year-old William Shatner trying to steal a warship.
And then of course Harrison Ford crashed a World War II era airplane on a golf course this week.
And like walked away
and
from the
walked
crash.
away. And I'm just like, all right, nobody should give you shit for being old again, Harrison Ford, because you clearly are the badass you portray in the movies.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
In fairness, he did ride an inflatable rubber raft down from the airplane.
Right, and a small Asian boy said, "Holy smoke, crash landing."
See, that exonerates all pain you might feel. If you have someone say, "Holy smokes, crash landing."
But I mean, I just love
although that was him falling out of the Obi-Wan club, not the airplane.
Right. I mean, but the newspaper, the AP reports didn't specify if Harrison Ford had any time for love afterwards, but
nor whether anyone called him Dr. Jones doll.
That's right. Anyway, so yeah, I just love that. Was like after the Leonard Nimoy news this week Harrison Ford crashing a World War II era airplane on a golf course was the most life affirming news I've had in quite a while. It's like all right, that's fucking awesome.
But I don't know how we got on. Oh, we were talking about In Search Of. Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah. But the implication here is that Mr. Pants, who it's revealed in his intro in the instruction manual that he is an underwear magnet. He has...
Magnate. Not an underwear magnet in that all underwear is attracted to him.
No, it's both, Chad.
He's a magnet. He's a hyphenate. He's a magnate.
Yeah, it can be both. That's... but it implies that like he developed a great deal of wealth from this and notoriety. He made his name in underwear designs.
Yeah.
And then from there, he kind of turned it into a cult of celebrity where he's Mr. Pants, the guy who just walks around in the briefs that he designed. Yeah. He got a TV show from that. He got further TV shows from that. And and Cornwall honored that by giving him his own town called Pantsland.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Mr. Pants was likely a pants magnate. There's also an underpants producing corporation in the Donkey Kong universe, Grunty Industries.
Right, which would, I guess, be a rival of Mr. Pants.
They make the white fronts.
Right, which is just unfashionable. I mean, come on.
Disgusting,
right.
Jeez, what is this, Malcolm in the Middle? Gross.
What?
Bryan Cranston wore white fronts on Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, yeah, and then later in Breaking Bad,
yes.
too.
Yeah, it was kind of a callback, but it was like the audience had to take an extra step to...
But not an innuendo?
Not an innuendo.
No, all right.
Callback.
So, that's Pantsland. Most of the game's world and the lore of Mr. Pants is established and expanded through artwork that you unlock. And it's also artwork that's in the background of the puzzles.
Well, not just artwork. There's also a little bit of backstory in the instruction booklet, if I might read another passage.
Please, go ahead.
All right. This is on the
Let's get started, shall we?
page. After he tells you to insert the game pack into the Game Boy Advance and turn the power on, he says,
After you've admired my groovy juggling skills on the title screen, a legacy of my past life as an Elizabethan minstrel, you'll move on to the game slot selection page.
So
yeah,
past life like regression hypnosis or something.
By the way, it is DK Vine's stance that everything in this instruction booklet is canon.
So no, like did he like actually like dig into his past lives? And
I think at some point he had to have had like regression hypnotherapy or something. I mean, we obviously know that ghosts and spirits exist in the Donkey Kong universe. At some point, he had to have become aware of the fact that his spirit is the reborn, life of what used to be an Elizabethan minstrel that was adept at juggling.
I really hope we get a prequel game at some point.
It's Mr. Pantaloons.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's it. That was it.
Oh.
I wanted to mention that he was an Elizabethan minstrel. That's all.
All right. Well, there you go. That's a bit of the lore I actually forgot about. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
So anyway, let's talk about the characters, shall we? Beyond Mr. Pants himself.
Right. There's a very fertile cast that we're dealing with.
Well, very fertile, and we'll start with the most fertile, considering she spawned his love child. Mrs. Pie, who is the local pie maker of Pantsland. And, I think it was Lee who confirmed that there is a Mr. Pie, and that Mrs. Pie had an affair with Mr. Pants and sired a child, a son, that is called Toby Pie.
Yeah.
And Toby Pie he does have a relationship with Mr. Pants, so at some point the truth came out. And Mrs. Pie still has, her married name, so I don't know if they're officially divorced, but they seem to have a stable, cohesive family unit at the time of It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah, Toby, Mrs. Pie, and Mr. Pants.
Yeah, so, and Toby Pie, or just we'll call him Toby from here on out, he does have a good relationship with his father, and much of the artwork, you can see them kind of going on little misadventures. And we'll get into some of those.
Toby is kind of his little sidekick. Here's another little excerpt from the instruction booklet that... It references children, but I think it's a great little aside. This is on the
Basic gameplay stuff
page.
If a piece reaches the board but can't be automatically dropped into place because of an obstruction, it'll be discarded. But you'll be penalized, boy. Or girl. You could be a girl.
So obviously he's thinking, equal opportunity. He doesn't want to discourage girls and women from playing this game. This is a very progressive gentleman who walks around in his underwear.
Right. Why hasn't this been brought up in all the recent debates? Why isn't Mr. Pants, the gender equality found in It's Mr. Pants, why hasn't that been brought up?
I think that this could single-handedly, this revelation that we have just made could undo the entire Gamergate movement.
Spread the word, people. We've done it. We've solved it.
Mr. Pants recognizes that girls might also be playing this game.
And this was 2004, all right?
Right. This was before women could vote.
Right. I mean, come on. So, rounding out the Mr. Pants core family here is Socks the dog and Vest the cat. And
No, it's Vest the dog and Socks the cat, right?
No, it's Socks the dog and Vest the cat.
Is it?
I looked it up, yeah.
Because Socks the dog has little white booties for feet, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always get that confused because Bill Clinton's cat was named Socks.
That's right, yeah. And that's why Mr. Pants couldn't name them, because he's a friend of the Clintons. He stayed over at the Clinton White House in the Lincoln bedroom. And
that's where I get all my fashion tips, baby. It's from my good friend, Mr. Pants.
I'll tell you to smile, baby. I love you. I was also a juggler of the booby.
They go flip, flop, flippin' and flop.
One of the questions we've got for Chris Sutherland is for him to show us his Clinton impression. I'm not sure if we're going to ask him that. But.
Wait, did someone actually request that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Someone wants Chris Sutherland to do a Bill Clinton impression. Wow. That's the kind of audience we have on this show.
Send us your best questions.
Oh, no. The cutoff's already passed.
Yeah. No. I'm saying we asked people, send us your best questions. And then
that's what happened.
Can you do a Clinton impression?
This may be the only opportunity you have to ask one of the people who is instrumental in developing your sense of childhood nostalgia a question. And do you want him to do an impression of our 41st president? 40th president. 41st? 42nd? 42nd? 42nd.
42nd, yeah. 42. He's 42.
Yeah, because the Bushes are 41, 43. They refer to each other that way. Did you know that?
Uh-huh.
Ew. Fucking ew. George
Yeah.
W. Bush doesn't call his dad Dad or HW or something. He calls him 41. Ew. Fucking ew. If you had any doubts that the Bush family was only interested in their political legacy, the fact that they refer to each other as their presidential numbers, ew.
That's why Jeb so wants to become president right now, because right now they call him Missing No.
Well, that might explain why Florida's economy is constantly being scrambled and deleted.
Yeah, they looked for those missing ballots by walking up and down the coast, up and down.
No amount of searching South Beach, Miami. All right.
So that's Mr. Pants' immediate family, but there's also weirdos who work for or appear on the It's Mr. Pants game show. So
That's
we'll go
right.
through some of those real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's Helpo, who Mr. Pants referenced. He is, and this is the best way I can describe Helpo, he is a robotic Cockney light bulb boy.
I'm sorry. I was really curious how you were going to do this, and you started with the word robotic.
He's a robotic Cockney light bulb boy who will help solve puzzles for you. He's basically the Super Kong of It's Mr. Pants.
What gives you Cockney? Because I'm looking at the instruction booklet, and on Helpo's introduction, the first word that Helpo says, taking away the authorship briefly from Mr. Pants, he says, "Hola."
It's Helpo's voice in the game.
Oh,
his voice sample.
Oh, what does his voice sound like?
Yeah, it's Cockney. It's a Cockney accent.
What does it sound like, Hyle?
I'm not going to do the voice because I can't do the voice.
Mary Poppins!
But it's a little boy's Cockney accent, so.
Chim chimney, chim chimney.
So he says, I'll just read this out. Hola, I'm Helpo. If you fail any of Mr. Pants' puzzles 3 times, I'll pop up to see if you need a hand. You don't have to let me help, but I'm very good. Honest. Press select when you see me, and I'll watch you play. Then if you drop a piece in the wrong place, I'll correct it. How do you like them apples? How do you like them apples?
You're doing it too deep of a voice, though. It's very,
How do you like
easy.
them apples?
I'm trying to think.
That's it. I think that's Helpo right
Okay, yeah, I was thinking, what's a Cockney? What could be, my go-to reference? And then I thought, oh, another brick against the wall. Yeah.
We don't need no.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Hola, I'm Helpo. If you fail any of Mr. Pat's puzzles 3 times, I'll pop up to see if you need a hand. You don't have to let me help, but I'm very good. Honest. How do you like them apples?
I love Helpo. He is so well, everybody is so positive in his game.
Yeah, they're helpful and positive, and they're named after the fact that they're helpful and positive.
I mean, I don't know if we really brought up how positive Mr. Pants' message is.
No, we did, and that's kind of what sets him apart as a character. He has a zest for life.
But you pause the game and it will just say, "I love you."
I love you.
No, you pause the game and messages come up as the game's paused, so it'll scroll through things like "I love you," "Smile, baby."
Yeah. No, when you start the game, you get one of those as well.
Yeah.
Smile, baby.
But it just the first time I saw because "I love you" doesn't pop up at first, but the first time it did, I was just like, "What?"
Yeah.
This is it's just great that he is just. He wants you to be happy, and
right.
So does Helpo.
So who else is in the supporting cast?
There is the Cran Snake and Max the Mystical Mouse. More on those later as we get to the game modes, because to really describe those is to describe the modes that they inhabit.
Yeah.
And then there's also a character I think we've dubbed Potted Pants, and it's just a smiling sunflower that's kept in the studio, I guess.
Right.
But you see him here or there. And the biggest character that this game introduced is you.
That's right. You get introduced to the Donkey Kong universe, and I guess are well, no, you're not a Donkey Kong universe character because you have been in games going all the way back to Anticipation.
But in the context of the Donkey Kong universe, you are a Donkey Kong universe character if you just look at it solely in the realm of those games. This is your first appearance.
Yes, and later you would reappear as me. as MII.
Yes.
You would show up in games like Mario Kart 8 as me.
Well, let's explain this a bit, because the contestant that's playing on It's Mr. Pants, the in-universe game show, would be you.
Yeah, like there have been first-person games, there have been third-person games. This is a second-person game.
Yeah,
they're referring directly to the player.
And this is actually the first time in the DKU that you, like your avatar, you as a character, would make an appearance. Before this, you're always playing as one of the other characters.
Yeah, there's always an in-game avatar to kind of represent what you're doing. I mean, even if it's like, James Bond that you never see, you're still playing as James Bond in that game's reality.
But you're not playing as Mr. Pants in this game. Mr. Pants is your guy, your host.
Yes.
You are playing as you. And so this is, this predates, as you mentioned, Mii's. This predates Xbox avatars.
Yeah.
So this actually provides an in-universe rationale for why you would eventually get to go on to do things like, rubbing shoulders with the Kongs and Banjo and Kazooie and becoming a contestant in Mario Kart or whatever. It's because you became a celebrity by being the first contestant on It's Mr. Pants.
And also defeating all of the modes of the game. Because one of the other assumptions we make, as we sort of draw out the larger narrative of all of these Donkey Kong universe games, is that we assume that unless the game specifically says otherwise, the beginning of the game takes place on that game's release date, and we also assume that the game is completed in full.
Right. So, which is why I am still toiling away at Donkey Konga 2. Thank you for that, Chad.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
It's your fault. It's my fault for explaining the rules 2.5 years after you started playing Donkey Konga
2. So yeah, you became a celebrity, and since you dominated Mr. Pants' game show, not dominate Mr. Pants, that's Mrs. Pie's job. Since you dominated his game show, and Mr. Pants is such a beloved figure, among everybody in the Donkey Kong universe, you're basically, remember Ken Jennings from Jeopardy?
How could I not?
Well, he became kind of like a celebrity, the trivia master by just winning so much on Jeopardy. Yeah. That's you. That's you for It's Mr. Pants. Mm-hmm. And you would eventually become a celebrity, and the Kongs would invite you to participate in things.
Yeah,
and
you are Watson, only not designed by Nazi sympathizers.
Yes. Sure.
IBM.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Because they made a lot of hardware and preliminary software that allowed Germans to keep better track of the Jews that they were burning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. IBM did that. That was something IBM did. A company that's still around. IBM. IBM did that.
You know who else did that? Siemens.
Oh, really?
Siemens.
Oh, yeah, like a printer company or something, right?
Yeah, Siemens. Yeah, they contributed a lot to the Nazi cause.
Oh, wow. Well, they all landed on their feet, didn't they? Good for them.
Right.
That's why you pay PR people.
All right. And then there's also the broader world of Pantsland, the weird inhabitants that exist kind of outside in Pantsland. There's Mr. Pants apparently has a field of animals he's collected during his world travels. Mm-hmm. So he's got an elephant named Elapants. He's got the Pants Eater, which is an anteater, and he's got Saddle the horse.
Wait. Is it an anteater, or is it a creature that looks like an anteater but exclusively eats pants?
I assume it's just an anteater but he named it Pants Eater because he's Mr. Pants and he's a weirdo.
Because Ant Pantser wouldn't make any sense.
No, and then there's Saddle the horse, which kind of goes in the same naming scheme as Socks and Vest.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm guessing. I guess saddles are the underpants of horses.
Yes, and I'm sure Mr. Pants has designed some fantastic saddles.
Right.
There's also some weird Halloween-related characters, and I don't know. I maybe Mr. Pants like runs a haunted house attraction every October for the kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's Hagen Pants, which is a witch, and then there's Vamp Pants, which is a vampire bat, but instead of fangs, he's got red briefs in place of his teeth. So.
Wow, I figured it was going to be some glam rock superstar wearing red Y fronts.
No, Vamp Pants is a bat with briefs for teeth.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's also Mr. Pants and Toby's space friends. There's a little narrative in the artwork you unlock, and like the artwork is fantastic because you see like his world.
Qualify that, Hyle.
the artwork is whimsical and bizarre, because you can see Mr. Pants' world travel. So like. You can see the time he went to the Taj Mahal and he put a giant pair of underpants on the Taj Mahal, and which I'm sure offended nobody.
Right, and we all heard about that. You know,
right.
This was hot off the heels of Taj sounding like this. We love our Indian friends.
So, in one of the narratives, there's a whole series of space-related pictures you can unlock, and basically from what I gather, Mr. Pants built a homemade rocket and tested it out on his son Toby.
I'm sorry. This is the proto balloon boy.
Right, yes. He blasted Toby into space and he didn't die, so Mr. Pants and Toby both used it to go to the moon.
You know, the Russians used a dog.
Mr. Pants used his bastard son.
He's just that confident.
And yet people love Mr. Pants. Like, I'm sure like authorities looked into this and they're like, yes, but it's Mr. This is before the Jimmy Savile thing.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm sure they looked into this like, yes, but it's Mr. Pants. Think of all he's done for the children.
Well, Toby still loves him.
Yeah. So they went to the moon and Mr. Pants he brought a makeshift flag of you guessed it, red briefs. He put the red briefs on the moon, which by the way, I'm sure by now they've gone white because color fades, you know, being exposed to all that space radiation and rays.
There's no atmosphere.
Right. So and on the moon, Mr. Pants met an alien that he named Pluto Pants, and he stuck a pair of red underwear on Pluto Pants' head.
Are we to assume that Pluto Pants is from the dwarf planetoid Pluto?
I don't think so. I think that's just what Mr. Pants named him.
You shall be Pluto Pants.
And then Pluto Pants had an associate, a giant robot that Mr. Pants named Robo Pants. And the space arc that you unlock culminates when they put a giant pair of underpants on the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey. So the device, the alien device that spurred on human evolution.
Yeah, over and over and over at key points in the progression of the species.
It now has a giant pair of red briefs on it. So who knows how that's going to screw us up. But yeah, that's the kind of story you unlock in It's Mr. Pants, where you just get this like sequence of events and it's just bizarre.
I'm afraid you'll have to smile, Dave.
All right, we better actually talk about the game modes.
Yeah.
So there's the regular puzzle modes, which they're the main part of the game, and like almost everything in the game, it comes in. Well, do you want to say easy, medium, hard, and special in Mr. Pants or in
easy?
Mr. Pants? Yes.
Medium. Hard. Disposable pants.
That's guess mode.
Oh, okay. You're
Yeah.
not going to say special?
Special.
Thank you. So yeah, each puzzle has a different theme, usually with like existing blocks already there, creating some sort of shape that then you get the shapes and you have to make rectangles and make everything disappear. And there's usually only like one way to do it. Sometimes there's two routes you can take, but for the more advanced puzzles, you really only have one route to take.
I want to say how amazing it is that we are an hour and a half into a podcast about a puzzle game, and we're only now starting to talk about the puzzle game.
You couldn't do that with Tetris.
No. This would have been probably 30 seconds of us saying, oh, hey, you know how red square was in the background? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, some of these shapes for each puzzle, and you tackle one puzzle at a time, but some of the shapes are actually referencing the broader Donkey Kong universe. One of the puzzles is Banjo. One of them is a Jinjo, and one of them, believe it or not, is Birdie the Scarecrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So these are just the shapes of the puzzles, not the artwork you unlock by beating the puzzle.
Right. These are just the shapes of the puzzles. The blocks are in the shape of these characters. The vague shape because they're blocky. So I guess this one is to assume that during his world travels, Mr. Pants actually went as far south as the Isle o' Hags and met Banjo and met a Jinjo and was in Willow Woods and met Birdie the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love the notion that like Mr. Pants was like backpacking through Spiral Mountain and met Banjo. It was like, oh, a talking bear. Okay, sure.
Do you want me to give you a little on the
Basic gameplay stuff.
page a little bit more about Mr. Pants describing the difficulty levels?
Well, please do, because I want to hear from Mr. Pants himself.
Yeah.
With several difficulty levels available, there should be something to suit players of all abilities, from underwear amateurs to true pants princes. Hone your skills on the easy level, then move up to medium when you think you're ready. Only those two are initially available, but if you can kick the medium level into sweaty submission, then I'll rustle...
Sweaty submission.
Then I'll rustle up something more challenging.
Oh my god. Sweaty submission.
Kick the medium mode into sweaty submission, and he will wrestle up something more challenging.
And then you'll be a verified pants prince.
That's right.
Oh my god.
I love this instruction booklet. Oh, man.
Anyway, so yeah, you create rectangles of the same color, and you can actually put different colored rectangles on top of different colors to overwrite them. Mm-hmm. So it's not like Tetris where they just stack on top of each other. You have a kind of a greater degree of control in It's Mr. Pants, which I actually prefer It's Mr. Pants over Tetris, which I'm sure is like sacrilegious among the video game community.
Well,
but
they're just completely different styles of block-based puzzle games.
Yeah, I feel like Mr. Pants is more... It's actually not probably as versatile because you can probably... There's different solutions to be had with Tetris, but I feel like Tetris is more random, where It's Mr. Pants is actually a puzzle you have to solve.
Yes, and that's by design.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I'm not knocking Tetris. I'm just saying I prefer the gameplay of It's Mr. Pants.
Yeah. With Tetris, basically, it's kind of the blind watchmaker where they create the mechanics and then and there's a random generator in there and they let it go. Whereas this is the god of the world, Mr. Pants himself, is an active participant in the proceedings.
Yeah. Agreed. And then so that's the regular puzzle modes, and they range from easy to hard, and but
don't forget
medium.
Oh, I don't forget medium, Chad. I beat that into sweaty submission.
Oh, good. That's required.
Now, then there's also other modes. There's marathon mode, which we referenced earlier. This was the mode that had its roots in the critter walking around the screen. And then Rambi would come out and chase him away. The critter was replaced with...
By the way, hang on. In marathon mode...
you won't know what the swanky secret shapes are, but hit the jackpot with the shape of those dimensions and you'll experience crunchy bonus joy.
That takes place in marathon mode.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's the crayon snake.
Yes.
And the crayon snake was what replaced the critter, and it's just this purple scribble that goes around the screen. And originally, the crayon snake went by a different name.
Yeah, the pant snake.
Or the trouser snake. I've seen it referenced as both.
I would imagine it would probably be pant snake, considering the naming scheme of everything else in the game.
Yes, and I think trouser snake is even more suggestive.
Well, that trouser snake is kind of the original term.
Right. That's actually one of the few things THQ, who must have been incredibly hands-off in reviewing this game, because they decided not to promote it in the slightest and barely release it.
Yeah.
But
although
yeah,
they did get a special thanks credit in the game for the THQ testing team.
Okay, well, THQ, that's one of the few things they said, nuh-uh, you can't call it the pants or trouser snake.
And looking at the instruction booklet, here's what he has to say about this snake, which replace crayon with pants, and yeah.
You'll have to keep one eye on the action and one eye on my crafty crayon snake.
Oh, no.
So imagine that being Pants Snake. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's what
All
Mr. Pants has to say about the crayon snake.
Yep. I imagine he just whips it out. And people love it. They cheer. Like, he'll go out. He'll go to the grocery store, and they'll be like, it's Mr. Pants. And then he'll turn around and whip it out, and everybody will cheer.
And then he does the Egyptian head dance while saying,
Smile, baby.
He's just this weirdo who should be committed, but people have decided he's this beloved icon. He's this beloved British celebrity.
It's not sexual unless you're Mrs. Pie.
Right. Like he is a really asexual character. That's the thing. Like it's
and yet
just,
he has destroyed a marriage.
Yes, but people. I'm sure Mr. Pie was like, "Well, it's Mr. Pants. I mean, how can I say no to that?" There's Wipeout mode, which is a race to see how fast you can clear the screen. So basically,
would you like to see how Mr. Pants describes Wipeout mode?
Please do.
Oh, for Clive's sake! I've gone and caused quite the polygonal kerfuffle, leaving jumbled up blocks strewn all over the place.
He continues on, but yeah, that's the best of it.
All right. Finally, there's one more mode you can unlock, and it is the full name is Max the Mystical Mouse's Muddle Mode.
Oh, Jesus.
But we just call it Muddle Mode for short. This is one of the most difficult tasks in the entire pantheon of the Donkey Kong universe. Because there's no easy, medium, hard, or special here. It's just one brutal mode. And thank God there's no medium, hard, or special. It's just one mode. Mm-hmm. Basically, Max the Mouse, he's like a pet of Mr. Pants, who he's trained to surf. Max is the mascot of this, and you're given a certain rectangle size, like 3x5, 4x5, et cetera, and you've got to make this rectangle with yellow blocks that are provided, but you have to make room for the board that already has pre-existing blocks on it. And basically, you have to do this 26 times, and it's a marathon sitting. And the final rectangle size you have to make is a staggering 13 by 13, which basically takes up like the entire game board.
Yeah.
And you have to make do with the shapes the game provides you, meaning the probability of successfully doing this changes each time you play it. And you have to clear it, and it's hard. It's very, very hard. Chad, did you ever beat Muddle Mode?
I don't think I ever unlocked Muddle Mode.
What?
I think this was probably one of those modes that Mr. Pants referenced that were
a bit more challenging.
Yeah. I didn't play the game to its full exhaustion as you did, and then
you didn't beat the game into sweaty submission.
I did not beat the game into sweaty submission.
I don't know if I can call you a pants prince, Chad.
I don't think I am, unfortunately. I'm a pants poser.
Yeah, it's like there's a joke on the main DK Vine page, one of our random rotating text slogans. And I think it was like home of the 5 people who beat Muddle Mode. I'm probably getting that number
I think it's
wrong.
like 3 people. I know it was you. Didn't Carla Gurney beat it?
Mark Mazai. Mark, our former news whore of the site. We call it that was his official title, the news whore. He was in charge of the news on the main
He likes
page.
it. He likes when we call him that.
He does. And he was It's Mr. Pants was probably his favorite game in the Donkey Kong universe. And I knew I would have to reference Mark at some point because I'm sure he's listening to this episode. Yeah, it's Mr. Pants.
All the way from South America.
Wait, Mark's South American?
He's gone down to South America way.
Mr. Pants is the avatar he uses on the forum. He still posts like once in a blue moon, once in a red pants, but yeah, he this was his favorite DKU game, and he beat it to completion. He beat Muddle Mode. I remember how happy he was when he beat Muddle Mode. Carla beat Muddle Mode, and I didn't spend too much time with Muddle Mode, like especially when you compare it to Donkey Konga 2. It was like a couple weeks max, but I didn't see
a couple
any
weeks
way.
max the mouse.
Yes, I didn't see any way I was going to beat it, and then I just did, and it was such a gratifying moment. But you can actually read that in the slush fund. It's Mr. Pants in Fish and Chaps discussion.
Right.
So on the DK Buying forum. Never been a better
Fish
time to
and
join.
Chaps, by the way. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's never been a better time to join. Fish and Chaps is a reference to the games that are spun out of both Royston's presence, who is Banjo's goldfish that taps on the bowl 3 times, and Mr. Pants, who is represented by Chaps.
Right. So it's just basically an easy shorthand is the Banjo-Kazooie spin-offs, if you can call them that. You know?
Yeah.
So those are the game modes. That's basically the core of Mr. Pants. But like I said, so much of the game is through the material you unlock, the artwork, the atmosphere, the instruction manual, the voice clips. Mr. Pants is just a constant presence in the game, and there's never been a game like this. It's astonishing to me that this game was even made. And like I said, it was really hard to find. It barely had a release in the United States. Both Chad and I had to go to eBay to get it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if it ever made its way to the lower 48. or if it was just on the Canadian border, you know?
Yeah. It snuck over in those big vats of marijuana that were themselves within vats of coffee grounds.
This was like the period where a hot topic of political conversation was seniors going over the Canadian border to get their medicine, and how we needed to like fix our healthcare system and et cetera, et cetera.
Really? Was that a hot topic of conversation in 2004?
Yeah, actually, but it was more like senior care and getting like this cost of prescription medication, less so than like pre-existing conditions and whatnot.
Well, I'm just glad that America has solved the healthcare crisis once and for all.
Amen. So,
is there an enduring legacy of Mr. Pants? Like, do you feel? I know that Ken Lobb and Phil Spencer and everyone at Rare has been teasing a resurgence of a Rare IP.
The only legacy It's Mr. Pants has, it's that it is the pinnacle of Rare. It's I don't mean pinnacle as in the greatest game they ever made. I mean the Rare sense of humor, the Rare the Rare attitude.
There are many things that make a Rare game, but one of them is that there's a palpable sense that they are making the game for themselves first and foremost. That this is a game that they would want to play.
And the people that subscribe to their worldview.
Well, I mean, but even then, I think that those fans are kind of incidental. It's just that we have a similar sense of humor. You know, that we just so happen to be aligned with their sensibilities, but they would have done it regardless. You know. And that's I think what sets Rare kind of apart is that they're not trying to be conciliatory. They're not dumbing things down. They're not catering to the broadest possible audience, at least in those days.
Right. And another thing that sets Rare apart, especially from Nintendo, is where Nintendo will whittle something down to the core gameplay and add a little bit of window dressing. Rare is all about the window dressing, and I'm not like knocking like their core gameplay, because It's Mr. Pants is a solid puzzle game. It is a lot of fun. If you're into, you have to kind of give yourself into it. Like if puzzle games aren't your thing, and honestly they aren't mine. It might take a day to get into it, but once the game starts clicking in your brain, oh my god, it's fun.
Yeah,
but like Rare didn't have to. They had a solid puzzle game on their hands. They could have just, had it come out, had it just be basic shapes, they didn't have to go all out in the presentation like they did.
Well, and I think that that's probably one of the fortunate sides of the fact that this game was stuck in intellectual property hell for so long, is because that basic engine was already written years before the game was ever released, and all that time, the only thing to spend it on was retooling the window dressing. And,
right.
and so that was really where their attention and effort went, and it definitely shows.
But yeah, and honestly, I think when I look at all of those games that had to be changed because of the buyout, It's Mr. Pants is the only one where I'm kind of happier with the end result than I would have been with the original conception, which was Donkey Kong Coconut Crackers. Don't get me wrong, I would have loved Coconut Crackers, but ultimately I think It's Mr. Pants contributes more to the lore of the Donkey Kong universe than Coconut Crackers could have.
Coconut Crackers would never have introduced Pluto Pants.
No. So when you talk about enduring legacy, this is the Rare game where Rare was at its most Rare-like.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the last great gasp before Microsoft started tightening the noose around their neck.
Mm-hmm. I think this is also proof, though, that that making an entirely, like, distilling what is Rare down to its purest form is not economically viable.
I don't know. You can't make any grand, statements based on the sales of this game because THQ did a terrible job promoting these games. No, like Grunny's Revenge, Banjo Pilot, like these are games that would have sold based on the IP alone, but they didn't advertise. They just dumped them into stores.
Right.
Grunny's Revenge at least had bigger distribution than Banjo Pilot and It's Mr. Pants.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, that's fair. THQ did this game no favors.
No, and it was basically just the only way they could have gotten this game released. I mean, THQ did none of the rigors. There was also Saberwolf from this time period. And I think that was all of the THQ releases. Everything else was published by Nintendo from the handheld division because they're all Donkey Kong ports.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just frustrating that THQ. I mean, I'm glad we got the games. Don't get me wrong, and it's great that the fans got the games in their hands. But anyways, so yeah, THQ sucks sweaty medium mode, but they at least they went out of business.
There is justice in the world.
There is
for what they did to It's Mr. Pants.
Thank God those people are out of work. Nobody comes between me and Mr. Pants. I mean, yeah, so the enduring legacy is this was Rare at its most Rare-like, at least as far as the window dressing goes. After this, there would be like Nuts and Bolts. Conquer still had yet to come out, but it was kind of a grand de-escalation of rareness until we got to Connect
Conquer
Sports.
had yet to come out.
Conquer Live and Reloaded.
Nuts and Bolts didn't come out before Conquer.
I'm talking about after It's Mr. Pants.
Oh, okay.
Conquer Live and Reloaded came out
yes.
several months after It's Mr. Pants.
Yes.
Then
For some reason, I thought you said, I thought you ordered them Nuts and Bolts followed by Live and Reloaded. Never mind.
No.
Okay.
I'm not. I
that
wasn't
would
that
be
far.
absurd.
I wasn't that far gone. Come on. Even though we were living in LA when Nuts and Bolts came out.
Yeah. That might have colored our perception a little bit too.
Yeah. So I don't know, and of course now Rare is in this grand resurgence, or this purported resurgence, where they are being allowed to make Rare games again. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if Mr. Pants makes a return at any point. I doubt it, but you never know. And I think what really struck me, because I played this game just a couple years ago, what struck me playing it was how out of time it seemed. Because it seems like a game like this would just be a simple app you download nowadays. Like,
this would be an amazing touch-based like iOS app.
Yes. And honestly, if Rare is going to revive it, if Microsoft is going to let them revive it, that would be how you do it. You don't release a cartridge for it. You don't release it on a handheld system. You release it as an app.
This is a 99-cent downloadable, and they would make a mint.
And honestly, I think it would really, really thrive there. I think people would be charmed by it. I think it would actually get some traction there. As a Game Boy Advance game, no. But yeah, I think it's actually ahead of its time a little. I know it's silly to say, but I think it came out maybe 7 years too soon.
Yeah, I dream of a future where one day I might glance over to someone else riding the subway on the way into work in the morning, and rather than 2048, they're playing It's Mr. Pants. How amazing would that be? Just like red Y-fronts juggling around on everyone's iPhones.
Well, what you have to do just to show them you're part of the tribe is you got to unzip, pull your pants down, show them what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Maybe whip out the dong.
Yeah. Look them right in the eye and say, "I love you."
Dum dee dum dee dee dum dee dum doo dum doo dum dee dee da 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 dee dum dee doo doo dee 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 doo doo dee doo. All together now. Dum dee dum.